What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia. Unlike most days, today I'm taking a little break from sitting on the couch making money investing in fractional real estate online. Still on the couch. At the moment, though, I'm not going to talk to you about actually investing online. And I just want to talk about the systems in general. I always tell you about what I like about a lot of the online platforms. And yes, I tell you about deals I don't like and things I think that could change. But in general, I'm always just talking about, strategy and due diligence and what I'm doing as far as investments go. Today, I'm going to talk just a little bit more generally. But so if you've been following my channel or are a Lofty investor or have been in the Discord for Lofty at all lately, you'll realize there's a lot of controversy at the moment. And I'm not going to get into the details of any of that, but it's, there's issues that are, could impact up to about a quarter of the properties on the site. A lot of people throwing around accusations of fraud and scamming and whatnot, and only time is going to tell if any of that is true. That's not, whether or not it is, that's not my place to say whatsoever. But I want to, one of the things, so I really, over the last 6 or 7 months of investing in fractional real estate, I guess almost eight now, have gotten, I really enjoy the ecosystem and the concept. And I think that, and I've made some decent money on a couple of sites already, Lofty being one of them. It's an industry that I want to see grow. I want to see Lofty do well. I want to see Mogul and Ground Floor and other places that I've invested in, and some that I haven't heard of yet. Right? I think there's a real need for an ability for new investors to have a place. If they don't have a ton of money, they can get online and buy small pieces of deals, learn about real estate investing, connect with other investors. And there's a real need for people like me who want to, who are getting close to the end of their career and don't want to do the hard work of, going out and, dealing with properties in real life anymore and want to make their money sitting on the couch, right? And maybe, and my plan is to put more and more money online over as time goes on. I'm still very much experimenting with all the sites. Um, that's why I'm always telling you to do your own due diligence. I never want to see, if you're going to put your whole, at the moment, it's still a very small fraction of my net worth that I'm devoting to any of these platforms. And until you really feel safe on there, I'd encourage everyone to do the same. Um, you know, I don't think and so I think pretty much anybody tuning into my channel probably knows about the, what's happening, what's going on. They also probably know about, this other site, Landa. I went to log into there today, and this is all you've got at the moment. So which was fantastic, right? So I mean, there's examples of a lot, lots of examples already in the fractional real estate space of people, losing their money, having their money trapped somewhere, um, not having the deal that they thought they did. Uh, and I think that it is, one, it's a very new industry, and there's a lot of kinks to work out, and a lot of people that are just entering it blindly. One of the reasons I decided to get really involved in this space is I've noticed there's a very um, obvious lack of real estate knowledge on the part of many of the people creating the platforms and running the platforms. There are some exceptions to that, like Mogul quickly became one of my favorite platforms because the guys that started that had significantly better real estate experience than most of the other sites. Um, but so because of that, and because it attracts a lot of newer investors, I think there is a real risk of grifters entering the scene, people that there's a real risk of people being taken advantage of, or just I think early properties on a lot of the sites were just really trash properties that people are um, dumping onto there because they can't sell it somewhere else for the same price, so it's a good place to sell it. And I think there's a lot of examples of that. Um, And so it's, it is one of the main reasons that all I'm ever talking about is due diligence. And like I said, I mean, it is a fledgling industry. There is a real risk of it going away. If there's too many issues and if you end up with a lot of lawsuits and failures and a lot of people losing money, there could be new legislation that wipes everything out, or there could be, just a loss of confidence in the space, and it could be too hard to get it off the ground and making it profitable. That is not at all what I'm hoping for. I mean, I really have, I've spent a lot of time talking about fractional real estate investing over the last 6 months, and sharing what I'm doing on it. And like I said, I mean, I'm really all not financially yet, but I am all in on it from a spending my time on it perspective, right? And um, I think, and so I want to see these sites win. And I think, I think a lot of people, a couple of people were like, hey, stop talking about what's going on right now. Don't put it on YouTube. Don't, because I think it's bad for it's bad for Lofty. It's bad for fractional real estate in general. If people knew about, the way certain things are happening, they might not want to come to the site and invest. And I think there's a little bit of truth to that. But what I really wanted to talk the most about today is that I think we're starting to see uh, the benefit. I want to explain why I'm still really optimistic about it, despite everything that that whole setup, right? I mean, I think that it's all true, right? There's real potential um, for especially inexperienced investors to be taken advantage of. There's real potential for even platforms to be taken advantage of by investors that are people that are bringing properties to the site, and in the way they interact with them, and in general. I mean, I think all of that exists, right? And not that's not particular to per specific to Lofty. I mean, there are other sites where it's not just one company. There's other there's multiple people bringing deals. And I talked about Fractional app, and I still haven't. I found the one guy who I thought I would want to do deals with, but in general, I think you know I didn't talk a lot about that site because I think that there are more people that are attracted to it, um, that see it as a way to get, what I would usually call dumb money, right? Like, and there's investors that do this in real life, right? They're doing um, syndication deals, or it used to be ticks. They're private REITs, and they go after doctors and lawyers and people at the country club, people that have no idea about how real estate works, and they just through relationships raise money. And I mean, so this is something that's not new to fractional real estate, right? There's always, whenever there's people with money that don't necessarily understand the business, you're going to have people inserting themselves uh, that are just going to try to take advantage of that. I mean, that's going to happen. Um, we've seen it happen throughout history. It's going to happen again in the future. But I think with everything going on right now, what I'm really optimistic about is uh, the fact that this is such a decentralized asset and platform. And it's attracted, although I think that the average investor that they've attracted, and I think that the way it's set up, it's attracted a lot of investors who really know nothing about real estate. And if you're one of those, I don't mean that to be derogatory. Obviously, if you're watching my channel, you're probably here to learn more about real estate, and I think that that's only a good sign, right? But I think that there are a growing number of people on the platform, and in the community, just the fractional real estate investor community in general, that are people that have real experience in real estate investment, and um, are willing to share that expertise, right, with the group, right? And so we really saw that over the weekend. Some of a large group of investors on the platform got together, spent really their whole Sunday working towards, trying to figure out really what was going on, uh, talking through possible solutions, making suggestions. And I think that having a lot of stakeholders like this, and having a lot of varying degrees, or degrees, but varying opinions and thoughts and experience and knowledge. I think for the first time, I really saw that, get the full force of that get applied to, trying to come up with a solution to what it looks like is a little bit of a sticky issue, right? And so, um, one, the amount of time that some people that are, successful people in their own right will, have their own businesses or doing their own thing, have their own investments, but those people were willing to take their time, devote it to trying to fix the problem. Now, as we speak, there are a number of people out there, uh, talking about possibly taking over management of some of the properties and, coming up with different solutions, maybe providing some support to, all sorts of different things. And that really, and you see me crossing stuff off. There's a lot of things I wanted to mention, and so I'm just, I had them on my little whiteboard here. Um, you know, there's just been there's a whole lot of bright, creative people that are generous with their time, and that are, all of us are just trying to make money here, right? And so, if it turns out that the current management or the current system isn't going to work for some people, there's plenty of other ones that have just very willingly stepped up and are, broken up into little groups, talked about different solutions. I mean, there's all sorts of that going on at the moment, and I think it's fantastic. I think that, the end result is going to be, many of these properties are going to be better off than they were, um, before, and some of them might fall by the wayside. Some of them might just continue on as they are. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, only time will tell, really, how big of a problem there is right now, and, uh, what actually happens with the properties and everything. But I really am optimistic about the system in general because there are, so many, people just willing to jump in and come up with solutions, and of course everybody has their own motives, and like I said, all of us are trying to make money, right? But in the at the end of the day, if we're all invested in the properties, uh, if someone makes money, we all make money, right? Um, as long as there's full transparency and people are, if they're getting paid for their time working on stuff, that it's a fair amount and all of that stuff, right? I mean, it is, there's of course details to work out. Um, but I think that, seeing that for the first time really like a lot, and I know it's happened. It's not the first time, right? There's been people jumping in and helping other failing properties and doing other things, but it's the first time I really was in some good discussions with multiple different people that all had solutions, and all had ideas, and many people willing to put some their time to work and their money and on deals, and, um, I just thought it gave me a lot of hope for the future, and like really to me, um, really solidified in my mind the benefit of having a wide array of owners in a deal, right? And I think that the only way that that benefit really comes, you get the full force of that benefit is when there is just complete disclosure and transparency on every single thing that's happening with every single deal, right? Like, if everybody's eyes are looking at documents, it's much easier to spot when something goes wrong. It's much easier to come up with solutions to problems if everyone knows what they are. So the more there's transparency, the more there's, disclosure of everything, the better. And so that's one of the things that I've constantly pushed for since I've been on here. Um, you know, uh, I think having a community is really important, which is why I always talk about, you can join my Discord. This is it, right? Fractional Real Estate Investors Discord. I'm not gonna show you who's members and here at the moment, but please feel free to join. There's a link in the description to this video. Before I forget, please like and subscribe. And there's also links to all the sites that I currently invest on. Some of them give you free money, some of them don't. As always, do your own due diligence on the platforms themselves and on any of the investments that you might make on there. But, so I've got mine. You're all welcome to join that. There's people that are in here talking every day. You can see we talk about a bunch of different platforms. Um, Obviously, I'm in the lofty investors community. I think, if you invest on there and you don't check in on your property channels at least somewhat regularly, I think that's a mistake. So I think that the fact that there's these communities, especially if you're a newer investor, there's so much opportunity to learn in a way that you're just not going to get. You know, when I was starting out in real estate, people would be like, "Oh, well, go invest money in somebody else's deal." This was something that people would say, and I just thought was like the most absurd thing, right? Because if one, I didn't have a ton of money to invest at the time, and then if you do that, is that person, if it's not a very significant amount of money, how much do they really want to spend their time talking to you, just because you put a couple $1,000 in one of their deals, right? But here, because of the way the system's set up, I mean, you can talk to the other investors in your deals. You can talk to the person who's actually running it, the co-owner. Some of the property managers, spend some time in there. A lot of times with the co-ownership properties, that's the same thing, right? The property manager is the co-owner that brought it to the site. So I mean, one, I think there's so much benefit you can get. Now, obviously, there's some trolling going on and some memes, and sometimes you see some arguments, and uh, you can get sucked into it and spend a whole day reading stuff that didn't actually help you make any money. I try to avoid that and the conflicts as much as I can. Um, you've got people making tools like this, like the Lofty Assist tool, right? Like, I mean, this is just another user on the platform who's using his skills and I don't know if it's programming or web design or whatever you would call it, but there's a Lofty query tool too, but there's yeah, this other one, here we go, the Lofty query app. Like there's all these people out here just trying to make the community better, right? And so I think that's and again, I mean, I think this industry is really in its infancy. I mean, like, I think you can look at ground floor and say, okay, they've been around a little over 10 years. A lot of the companies that started off, like when crowdsourcing, right? Crowdsourcing was the what they called it, or oh, I don't remember even what it was, but a lot of the companies that started off trying to raise money that way, just turned into companies that sell REITs, or there were other, a lot of them just disappeared, right? And so I think this is like the second evolution of that. This, companies, most of which are using the blockchain today, um, which I think makes the decentralization, uh, so that you can trust it more. I don't know. I think there's a lot, but when you look at that being the business and not the ones that are securitizing these deals, uh, then I mean, it's really maybe 3 years old, maybe five. I bet you could point to somebody trying to do it a little sooner that isn't still around. Um, so obviously there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and if you're in this industry now and you're investing, and I think I think that's why there's a ton of unbelievable opportunities, like the types of deals that we're able to get, and the type of money you can make if if you're really active and in the way that you're investing, and jumping on discounts when they come up, and all of that, I think, is tremendous, but it's also why there's going to be just all these bumps in the road. And I think I am still tremendously, optimistic about Lofty's platform in general, about the industry as well. I think that there are some important lessons learned here, even if it turns out that nothing nefarious is going on. And like I said, I mean, who knows, right? There are a lot of different accusations that I've heard. There's right now, I think we're just trying to get more information. I think that's the number one thing that most people are looking for at the moment. So I mean, it doesn't really matter how this turns out. Um, I do think we'll see some properties that end up with a better business plan at the end of this process. But regardless of that, I think that there's a couple lessons learned for us. One, um, I think, and I've said this a bunch of other times, but I think as investors on any of these platforms, we should be demanding more and more transparency and reporting. Um, we should get documentation for every single thing. All whatever spent, we should have budgets. All of that. We shouldn't. There shouldn't be anything as owners of these properties. There shouldn't be anything that's not shared with us, right? And so I think one that's something that is becoming more and more apparent to more people right now, and I think hopefully we continue to push for that, and that works out. And then the other thing too, I think me personally, I probably should have spoken up more sooner. I definitely mentioned, I asked a lot of questions and mentioned things to people, and um, but I think that a more concerted effort of pushing for answers to questions sooner would have led to maybe a better outcome, because we wouldn't be so far down the road with some of the stuff, and then realizing, hey, maybe this stuff maybe it's not working the way that we think it's working, right? And I think that's the real rub for most people, is they're not getting the deal that they thought they were, right? Like things are not exactly what they were expecting, or what they seemed, or what they thought they were told, maybe what they were actually told, depending on whose opinion is right. Um, but so, I think one of the important things going forward is that for all of us, if in any of the platforms and any of the properties, if we're invested in it and we ask a question and the response, one, doesn't make sense to us, or doesn't seem like a full answer, um, the some follow up is needed, right? And like sometimes it's especially on deals like, oh, I just don't 10 tokens of this. I asked a couple of questions. I didn't like the answers, but I mean, that's kind of what happened with me with some of them. Is I just was like, okay, well, I don't own enough of it to want to fight about it. Um, but I think that one, I don't think I'm ever going to take that position again, right? It's going to be, if I'm invested in it, I'm going to want to know the answer to all the questions. One, for my own investment, and but also for because I do really want to see this system get better. I want to see fractional real estate as an industry improve, and I think that better reporting and transparency is the number one way that's going to happen. I think if everybody knows exactly what's going on with their properties, on a monthly basis, actually gets details, no, and then in real time when it's something that's more important, like a sale or a refinance, I mean, any of that stuff, like documents should be available basically as immediately, right? I mean, if there's a new sale contract, it should be in the Dropbox, or in the, posted on the property listing if it's on a site that's not with the Dropbox, right? Like all of that stuff, I think that um, is just sort of necessary, right? Like because if we don't have that, like we have no idea what we've actually bought, or what we own, or what it's worth. I think there's something. My camera is just weird. It keeps making me think there's something behind me, but it's not my cat back there, and it's just my long hair sticking out funny. So sorry if what I'm doing here just makes me look like a crazy person. I know I kind of am a crazy person. If you've been watching me this long and you haven't figured that out, I don't really know how to help. But it is, it's something that I think we all just need to. That's the real lesson learned, right? It's basically that if you see something, say something type of idea, right? If you're looking at your monthly reporting of your P&L, or uh, um, your rent roll, or if you're not getting any kind of bank rolls, or bank rolls, any kind of bank statements, or rent rolls, or if leases aren't uploaded, if receipts, invoices and expenses aren't uploaded, if all that stuff's not happening and long periods of time are going by and you don't have any idea what's going on, um, to me, that's not acceptable. And hopefully, as owners of properties, most of you feel the same way as me. And so we can all continue to push for a system where that's just the status quo, right? I mean, if you watch my probably most of you didn't, but if you watched my interview with Earl quite a while back, I think if you look in his properties on, in his Dropboxes and in his Discords, he's a real, shining example of what I think things should look like. I think Alec is another one. I own just one of his properties. He doesn't have as many on the site yet, but I think if you really look at like the level of information that he's giving us and the timeliness of things and I think that that is um the direction that we hopefully push everybody who's managing our money in, right? And it will help us understand what's going on with things more. We won't get 2 months past a new loan coming out and find out that we paid a $1,500 fee on a $8,000 loan or something like that. Um, and I'm not sure that's exactly what happened, but it's something, we just will avoid, we'll just know right away what's actually happening in with our properties. And I think that that's what we really want to work towards. Um, that's really all I wanted to say. As much as there's a lot of angry people right now and a lot of, I was really impressed by everybody's ability to one, mostly remain calm and civil. Mostly, there's some people that got off the rails a little bit, but I think that's going to happen, especially when the communication is online, right? I mean, there's going to be people typing stuff, especially right when that's not the best. But in general, I think that you have a large concerted effort to make to make things better, to make sure people are making money, to make sure everything's on the up and up, and that I don't know. I just wanted to mention that and explain that I'm actually uh, after this whole experience, and I know we're probably not done yet, and there might be another round, who knows what, but I think that I'm more optimistic today than I was 2 weeks ago, and I know that might surprise some people, but I think that I think that there are probably other people that feel the same way because it is the most I've seen the community get together and like really try to solve problems and try to propose solutions and try to come up with ideas. And I think the more we can do that as a group, the more, the better off we'll be. Like I said, you're welcome to join the Discord and talk about it. You don't have to join mine. Whatever platform you're most active on, I'd suggest jumping in that one as well, or only that, whatever you want to do. And really ask the questions, make sure that you understand something. None of these deals on any of the sites are something that I would just open the property, look at the yield and say, hey, that's mine, right? I'm going to buy it. Like I would never do that. But it should be the same, just like if you were investing in a stock, right? Like you're going to want to know. I say that, but people are completely irresponsible, right? But you should want to know everything about the company, its financials, its, all that stuff. And I think that's part of the problem is that, a lot of people do think of this as stock investing in real estate. But one thing that is different is that large public companies are large and public, and they face a lot of scrutiny from there's paid analysts out there whose whole job is to report on those companies, to dig into them. There's other big companies that invest in those companies, and so they're sort of working as watchdogs, and then they are highly regulated, and you have the regulators looking at them as well. And so um, even though I never want to invest in stocks without actually knowing everything about that company, I think it's a little safer to do that than it is to do buy, pieces of real estate in this type of setup, right? And really any of them, even the ones that are, even the ones that are securitized and that are sold as securities. Yes, you have maybe a little bit more regulatory scrutiny, but you don't have those. What I really think uh, the people that uncover most of the problems in large public entities are the large investors that are spending a lot of time digging into those companies. And so where we don't have that in these individual properties that come out, because at the moment, I would be shocked to find out that there were any hedge funds or pension funds or anybody putting money onto sites like this. Even Arrived Homes, which I think is probably the biggest platform right now. I don't think that there's. I mean, who knows? Maybe there are, but I don't think that there's, large investment companies digging into those individual homes and doing that. It seems like maybe Ground Floor did get some institutional investors finally, but they've been around a long time, and their product is, um, it's much more standardized, right? Because it's a debt product, and um, they're all underwritten the same way and whatnot. So anyway, so we don't have that extra layer of like these other big watchdog type entities that are doing the work for us. And so that's why I'm so big on, if you're going to invest in any of these, you can't take anybody's word for anything. You want to dig into everything about the property that you can, verify everything you can with third party sources, look at every single document, understand everything that's going on. And if that is not what you want to do with your free time, it may not be the right place to invest in. Like one of the things I talked to, uh, all sorts of people about fractional real estate investing. Even in my day job, I've now started to bring it up to people quite a bit if it seems like they're not in a spot where buying just whole properties, from my team makes sense for them. This is a solution that I'm happy to mention, and um, but even for a lot of those people, I don't think that necessarily Lofty is the right space, and even Mogul, where I think that there is, because there's so much real estate experience on that team and the way they're picking deals, I've been very impressed by. I still warn people, if you're not willing to really look at every single deal and analyze it, that it might not be the space for you, right? Anyway, that's really all I want to say for today. Um, I'm going to get back to making money now. Gonna go, and one of the outcomes from all of the turmoil that's going on is that there have been some screaming deals, like some discounts, the likes of which don't pop up that often. So that's been nice to see. Although every time I see that, at the same time I realize that's somebody who is taking a big loss, right? And like I think that probably a lot of those people, it's because they jumped into this without realizing that what's required to do well on it. And anyway, in any case, that's it for me for today. Until next time, I'm just going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.